excited to be here with you. I've already gotten a lot of takeaways, and I'm looking forward to learning more throughout the afternoon. Let's see if we have a picture here. Yes, this is my best friend, Mickey, on our happy day. And then fast forward just a few years. This is from 2020, and we've grown to 7. And so that's a great delight to us. It's been good. I'm so excited to be here because I think that marriage is one of God's best gifts to us. And I like to encourage people in their marriage journey, and it is a journey. No two marriages look alike. Each one, the principles that we're talking about throughout this day are true for all of us, but the way it plays out in your marriage and my marriage looks very different. And we want to embrace that and be curious about what works for us. And don't rob yourself of contentment by comparing your marriage to another marriage. You don't want to go down that path. And of course, today, the focus in this breakout is communication, but moving through the difficult communication or the conflict that comes up. And it comes up for all of us. And we want to be able to stay on the same team when we strongly disagree. So I would like to just point out that we're communicating all the time. With our words, of course, but also with our facial expressions, with our tone, for sure, with our body language and the actions that we do. And I want you to become more and more aware of the message that you're sending, because it's pretty much either inviting connection and moving towards your spouse, or it's a withdrawing. It's a creating distance between you. And you want to recognize, especially if you're sending a mixed message, if your words are saying one thing, but your tone is saying another thing. And that happens to all of us. So we're going to jump right in with a little communication exercise. And this is a simple one, so humor me in it, please. But it does signify or highlight some really important things that we want to talk about in dealing with conflict. So I just want you to talk, just like in your mini date, I guess, talk to each other right where you are. And we're going to start with wives. If you would please tell your husband your favorite color. He probably knows that, but I want you to point out a feature of it or a descriptor of it. Like if red were my favorite color, I might say it's bold or vibrant. So give some attachment to the color. So we'll go ahead and do that. Wives, if you would please tell your husband your favorite color and a descriptor, and then husbands, please reciprocate. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one, and that is your favorite animal. It doesn't have to be a pet, any kind of animal. And so share your favorite animal and what you like about that animal, what characteristic or what feature you're drawn to. So again, ladies, if you would share your favorite animal. Okay, and the last one is your favorite setting in nature. And we'll start with the guys first. Please share your favorite place to be outdoors. Is it the mountains, the beach, your backyard, on your boat? Where is it that you like to be? And what is stirred in you when you're in that place? What kind of emotions or feelings do you experience there? So guys, please tell your wives, and then please reciprocate. Okay, this, of course, is a very lighthearted exercise, but it highlights what I want us to focus on in that the favorite color is supposed to represent how you see yourself or how you would like to be. And I don't know, is it true? Is what you picked true? Your spouse probably knows if it's true. And then the animal is supposed to be what you're looking for in your spouse. So if you said a pig is your favorite animal, I can't help you there. You'll have to work that out. And then the last one is your favorite setting in nature relates to your faith in God. And when you're feeling close to the Lord and feeling connected to Him, what does that stir in you? You know, is it like the awe in the mountains or the calming of the beach waves? And try to notice if that's true for you about when you do feel connected to the Lord. But again, these highlight what I want us to focus on: your perception of yourself, your perception of your spouse, and your perception of the Lord's hand in your marriage and in your life together. These three things very much affect your communication and how you move through conflict. You see, it's difficult to be close to someone who's not very self-aware. Let me say it again. It's difficult to be close to someone who is not very self-aware. What I mean by that, say you're a funny person, crack jokes, life of the party. It's really great. It's fun to be around you, and that's a wonderful thing. But you may also use that humor to deflect difficult conversations or more serious topics. And your spouse may feel minimized or dismissed through your humor. So you want to be aware of how you come across. This is true for all of us. Our strength, if it gets out of balance, is our weakness and can be a source of escalated conflict in our discussions. Another example is if you're easygoing, laid back, chilled out. I mean, you can be so easy to live with if you're like that, so it's a wonderful thing. But it can also be experienced as you having a lack of motivation or a lack of initiative, and your partner may actually feel burdened, like they have to make all the decisions, the pressure's on them, line up the sitter, figure it out, and it may not feel so lovely sometimes. So you want to be aware of how you're coming across. One last example, if you're an extrovert, you love to meet people, never meet a stranger, that's a wonderful thing, but you may find that you cross a boundary into flirtiness and being flirtatious. Maybe you're not even aware of it, but I bet that your spouse is, right? They probably notice. So these things are important, but in order to be close to each other. But more importantly, it's difficult to be close to the Lord if we're not very self-aware. If we don't recognize, like what Kurt was talking about earlier, our selfishness and our self-absorption, our tendency to be critical, then we don't really appreciate what the Lord has done for us and the need that we have for Him. So it's going to be very hard for us to extend that mercy to our spouse if we're not aware of how much mercy and forgiveness we're really operating in. And so, again, this is how the awareness comes into play. Okay, well, let's move on and take a look at this cartoon. I think it's all in our perspective, right? You see what the giraffe sees, strictly the circles. And so let's move on. We're going to talk about fact, perception, and response. And the point being that what our perception and what we tell ourselves about a fact or a situation greatly influences our response. And so a simple example of this is when I hear a weather report and the newscaster is telling me that there's a tropical depression out in the Gulf. Well, I began to tell myself, or I could tell myself things like this: oh no, we're going to have another hurricane, it's going to be Harvey, our house is going to flood again, we're going to end up at the La Quinta for 3 more months. You see, I go down this trail and I get to this very agitated state, and I'm probably going to go make some impulse purchases or hoard some things because I'm moving forward in all of these thoughts that I'm telling myself. And you have to, the thing that is that we want to recognize what we're telling ourselves, because in our interaction with our spouse, sometimes it becomes more heated because of what I'm telling myself in my head. May not even actually be saying it, but I'm so amped up in my response because of what I've told myself. So our thoughts have great influence over our actions. And we see this in the Bible. Look at this Bible verse from Romans 12. Don't copy the behaviors and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. So let's give another example of what this can look like actually in marriage. Say you get to the end of the week and you're so happy because it's been a really busy week. You're looking forward to just having some downtime, maybe doing some family stuff, maybe taking the kids to the zoo, whatever, just want to relax, right? But Friday night, I'm going to pick on the ladies here a minute. Friday night, your husband says, by the way, Joe asked if I could help him move some furniture tomorrow. And so I said, sure. But don't worry, I won't, it'll probably just be the morning. And so here we go. Ta-da! Can we go back to the fact and perception? What is wife? What am I telling myself when I hear that? Am I telling myself, I can't believe you didn't consult with me or we didn't collaborate on this. What are you thinking? And you know it's been a crazy week, so now I'm going to have to deal with the kids all by myself. Or frankly, if you're looking for a project to do, we got lots to do around our own home. You don't even care about us. We're not even a priority. You see how you can escalate yourself and ramp yourself up so that when you give a response to your husband about this change of plans, I mean, it's just a change of plans, but you have it amped up to he doesn't even care, but we're not a priority. Our family's not a priority. And that is that's not going to go well. It's not going to play out well. So try to recognize, and I'm not saying ignore all of the things that come up for you. I'm not saying dismiss it out of hand, but this is where we need to be talking to the Lord about it. We need to be checking with the Lord. What's going on here in my heart? Is this an issue that needs to be addressed? Has our family really been displaced in the priorities and in time together? And then let's find a time to talk about that, not escalate this schedule change, you see. Or maybe it's my own selfishness that I just didn't want to have to, deal with the kids on my own or whatever the situation. So I'll give you another example of this, and this is from my personal life. Early in my marriage, when my husband and I would drive in the car, I would tell him, oh, turn here, go this way, oh, don't go that way. And just, as we're chatting, heading to dinner, I'm telling him all of these things. But eventually, he told me, Carol, when you tell me how to drive, what I hear is, you're an idiot. And that just shocked me because that wasn't anywhere in my intentions. That I didn't have any bad intentions in the discussion about how we're getting there and the drive. But I could understand once he shared that with me that felt patronizing, even disrespectful. He's in sales. He gets around Houston just fine. And so, we get where we're going, not always the best way, but we get there. And more importantly, when we get there, we're on the same team. And so I'm not responsible for his perceptions, but he's responsible for that. And I'm so thankful he told me because I would not have put it together that way. I'm responsible then for how I respond to him. I want to take it as an opportunity to reach towards him with my response, right? And in fact, him telling me that about how he felt patronized was a reaching towards me. So reaching towards your partner isn't necessarily sunshine and rainbows and you're so great. Sometimes it's saying those hard things, right? But in a way that invites room for connection, leaves space for y'all to be on the same team and talk about it, and we haven't gone to our opposite corners, right? Okay, I've noticed a couple of ways that a couple of types of responses of couples in conflict. So say that you're having a heated discussion and it's escalating and you can feel things going on inside of you and it's not going well. Very often you have one partner who wants to confront it. Let's address this, let's talk about it, let's spread it out here and sort through it and be done with it, right? They want to get right to it. But then you have a different perspective, which is the partner that sees things are ramping up, things are getting heated, and they want to pull back and they want to retreat. They want to take time to bring it down, right? And, frankly, if you do have some anger challenges, that's probably a good idea. But you can see how this is going to play out. If you've got one coming, let's talk it out, and one retreating, how is this person going to feel? Well, they're going to feel like that person, their partner doesn't care. They're not hearing them. They're withdrawing. They're dismissing it. They're not important. And that wasn't the intention on either part. Can you see that sometimes we both have good intentions, but we still miss each other? We miss the connection. That's why we don't want to build a case on why I did what I did. We're not going to court. We're looking for ways to connect. So if you're the partner that is one that withdraws and steps back, did you know that the person that withdraws has the majority of the power? They're holding the power. And if one person's holding most of the power in the relationship, it ain't gonna be good. That's not a good place. It's not a sustainable place. There has to be a mutuality and that shared power. So what that could look like then is, first of all, you have to communicate that. You don't get to just retreat and just walk away or drive off or hang up the phone or whatever. You say, I feel like we're escalating. Give me some time. I've got to breathe. Let me pray about this. We've got company coming. Can we talk about it tomorrow? whatever the situation is. But it's really important, if you're the one that withdraws, that you initiate the reconnect. So if you take that time away to think, to calm down, to pray, and you should at certain times, then the follow-up is, hey, babe, I realize this is important to you, or we left this unfinished, and you initiate that. It's a similar principle with intimacy. If there's a time that your partner's reaching towards you and you're not, you decline it at that time, then you want to be sure, and the next time you initiate that physical connection, because you want to be sure you're sending the message that you're important to me. I like to be close to you. I want us to be connected. And so, take that initiative. Okay, let's see where we are. I think this is where we're going to dig a little deeper. And if you would, let's go to the circles. If you have the pen and paper, this is the time to bring it out, please. And if you would start at the top with, to have a blank marriage. And I want you to fill in the word that resonates with you. So maybe a strong marriage, or a healthy marriage, or a happy marriage, or a godly marriage. Whatever connects with you, just write that at the top. And then we're going to be talking about things that are essential to having this good marriage. And I've seen all kinds of things in that inner circle. Things like, love, respect, things like that, but also quality time, or even time alone. Some people have the frequency of sex in there. Some people have financial security, any number of things. So each of you is going to have your own paper, and you write down what you feel is essential for you to have a good marriage. And then in this outer circle, the desirable, I want you to put down things that you would like to have. Maybe you've been wanting to go take shooting lessons, go to the gun range, or maybe you want a new house. Whatever is desirable on your heart, things that you would enjoy doing, put that in the outer circle. And we're going to step away. I'm going to step away for about 4 or 5 minutes and give you time, maybe just 4 minutes. Let's do 4 minutes, and give you time to write, again, what you think is essential for this good marriage and what you think is desirable. And then we'll come back and work through it together. All right, welcome back. Clearly, you haven't had a lot of time to flesh these out, but that's okay. You can take more time later if you like to. I want us to work through the significance of these. In general, things that we have in our essential circle, we grip tightly to. We really hold on and we're fiercely protective of. And well, we should if it's essential to our good marriage, right? That commitment, just protecting our inner circle, the sanctity of our union. We do want to hold tightly to that. And if we feel like something is happening that's threatening that inner circle or those things that are essential, often one of these two things will happen. Your anxiety will spike or your anger will flare. And sometimes that's a good thing. If there's a third party trying to get in between you, you probably want to have some intensity, right, to protect your marriage. But sometimes, remember, our perception shapes our response. Sometimes our perception is that one of these core things is being threatened, and it may or may not be. So let me give you an example. If you have in your essential circle shared faith, and I hope you both do, what your perception of that shared faith may be is praying together. Maybe in your mind that means in the morning we start with a prayer together, or before we go to bed we start with a prayer together. And maybe your spouse, that's not their perception of what shared faith looks like. And so when they're not interested in that, or it falls off after a day or two, sometimes we begin to tell ourselves thoughts like, they don't really care, praying's not important to them, what I've asked for isn't important, they're not as spiritual as me. We can kind of get on our moral high horse, right, and declare that our perception is the perception. Instead, in reality, this shared faith is essential, but it's desirable to you. That actually goes in the desirable category, the praying together. That's your understanding or what you would like for. And that's important, and you want to talk about it, and you want to work to meet each other on those things. But it in itself is not to make or break. And another example of that is if you feel shared faith looks like tithing. We do it right off the top. We don't talk about it. We don't wait to see what's left at the end of the month. But maybe your partner's not quite as committed to that. They kind of want to see what's left over after we kind of make some of these spending expenses or expenditures that we want to do. And so that person can also get on their moral high ground. Well, they obviously, their money's not reflecting where their priorities are, and they're not quite as spiritual as me. And you see how that can create tension, and that in itself can have the anxiety or the anger flaring up. Another example is if in your essential circle you had financial security. Maybe growing up, your family had some financial instability, and there were a lot of problems with that, and you didn't feel safe and you didn't feel secure, so that has become very important to you. Fast forward in your marriage, you and your partner take the time to Dave Ramsey it, right? You sit down, you make your budget, maybe you've got your envelopes, however you do that. And then not a week later, your spouse comes home and they've made an unexpected purchase. And what are you telling yourself? Pay attention to what you're telling yourself and be honest and bring that to the conversation. So if you're telling yourself, they don't care about all that time we put into it, they wasted my time, that's disrespectful, we don't have the same priorities, maybe we're not on the same page. I mean, we can really get ourselves down a rabbit trail. And then when you come back to your spouse, if you're responding out of that rabbit trail or that personal escalation, they're going to be so confused as to why you're so amped up, right? Because they thought we were just talking about this one expenditure. Maybe they got a refund on something and hadn't had a chance to update you. So they're not perceiving this as a threat or a violation to that essential place. So this is where the self-awareness is so important. So you can recognize what you're attaching to the situation or to the conversation and own it and ask. I mean, it's fine if that is concerning you and you do feel like it is actually a threat. You want to express that. I just feel like our priorities, sometimes I feel like we're out of sync on our priorities rather than, I can't believe you bought that. You know you didn't need that. You know we weren't going to get that in the budget until thus and so, right? Okay, so then we have our desirable category, and these are things that we hold loosely, right? We would love it if it happens. It would enrich our life together, but we hold it loosely. It is not make or break. New house, it would be great. Regular date nights, so you get the idea. I wish I could hear all the things that you had in there. But something I have noticed is things that I conceptually in my mind have parked in my desirable category. In reality, in the day-to-day, they have crept into my essential circle. And the reason why I know that happens is because I can feel my anxiety or my anger escalating. So like this level of an interaction is happening, but I'm having this level of a response. So it would do me well to reflect and think about what feels threatened here. What's going on in me that I'm, just at DEFCON 5 on this thing. And again, sometimes the Holy Spirit works through that and we need to acknowledge it, and it's something that needs to be addressed in our relationship. Sometimes it's just, I want it done my way, and I don't like it that way, and you need to listen to me. And I'm going to withdraw, or I'm going to be huffy, or I'm going to make you pay, right, with my attitude or my tone. None of that is inviting connection. That's that pushing away that we talked about. One more thing about the circles is if the things in your essential circle are out of your control, that's going to leave you in a really precarious place. You're going to be on a roller coaster. If my core okayness is dependent upon what my spouse does or doesn't do, then I'm going to be all over the place. So you really want to come back and reset that your core okayness and your security is in the Lord, and that He is a good provider, and that He loves us, and He is faithful, and He gives us, as Kurt pointed out earlier, everything that we need for a godly life in Jesus. So we have what we need. And if you can come back and recenter in that place, it's very liberating. It frees you up to come to this conversation, even the conversation about the things that you feel are essential, but you're able to do it in that connecting way, in that I want us to be in sync, and I want to be understood, and I want to understand you. So, try to spend some time working with these circles. You might even want to make a joint circle and see if you can agree on those essentials and the desirables that you'd like to work on. It can almost be like a little to-do list of some things that you want to start incorporating. Maybe you didn't realize your spouse wanted to do this, that, or the other, so start at plant a garden, whatever it is. It's a good time to talk about that. All right, let's see here. Let's see where I am. Okay, let's go to the next graphic, please. This is going to be another Bible verse. Thanks. From Psalms, and it says, "May God be gracious to us and bless us and make His face shine on us, so that your ways, God's ways, may be known on the earth, and your salvation among the nations." So first of all, we absolutely need the Lord's blessing on us. And please don't let a week go by that you don't pray for your marriage and ask for the Lord's blessing and for His leading and for His patience and for His comfort. We need that. But we also have this wonderful opportunity to make the Lord's ways known right here in Pearland, Texas, in our own marriage. We don't have to be missionaries. It's great if you are, but you don't have to be. The way that you treat your spouse definitely is a reflection of Jesus' love for us, and we're extending that. So we can be a reflection of Jesus and His ways. And so you might see this in how you speak about, well, first of all, how you speak to your spouse. They're going to notice, right, if you're reflecting Jesus, and your children will notice, and the people around you will notice. But when you're not with your spouse, how do you speak of them? Do you preserve their integrity? Do you speak well of them? Or do you allow yourself to go to character attacks like, they're so lazy, or, they can be so stupid? Or even sometimes we do this about our own children. We say, I have to be with the kids, or they're driving me nuts. And that doesn't really reflect our true belief about it, that they're a blessing and that they're a gift. So the way we conduct our lives is this opportunity to live beyond ourselves and what our needs are and our desires in the marriage, and be a way that God can reveal his ways, right? A little taste of what it looks like to live in love. And this also extends to how you spend your spare time, where you put your money. You know, do you reach out and show compassion for those who are hurting? Or when there's been a storm, is your family there to help? These are all ways that we can make the Lord's ways known and be a part of that. All right. Let's go to the next slide. And these are some cute little critters, these little otters, and they live near the Pacific Ocean. And they're independent little guys, carnivorous, claws. They are able to handle themselves just fine. But at night, when they sleep, they link hands. Because when they're on the ocean and they know the tide can rise and fall and the current can become strong, and they don't want to lose each other. So when they sleep, they stay connected. And I think it's a beautiful picture for us that when we're going through the hard times in our lives, if we're reaching toward each other and having that connection, that will serve us well when the conflict comes. So now I want you to do one more little time away, and I want you to take just 4 or 5 minutes to go back to the circles. If we could go back to the circles. Let's see here. All right, thanks. I want you to take the time to actually share with your partner. I want you to pick one of the things that was in your essential circle, and I want you to talk about that, and I want you to share why it's important to you and what that looks like to you. So again, like I said, shared faith, what that looks like. Quality time, what does that look like? Maybe that means going on a date. Maybe it just means getting to be in the same room and chill out. Talk it through a little bit. And I want you to try to recognize, just take a few minutes, try to recognize if something that you desire, if you have allowed that to creep into the essential circle. So if there's something you've been wanting to do and maybe y'all have talked about it and it's not working out, has your tension and anger been spiked on that, and has it crept over into essential? And so talk about it. And I want each of you to share one essential and one desirable, and then we'll come back in about 4 or 5 minutes. Thanks.